in terms of what actually is your end goal, your end goal is partly, well, it's got to be personal. Like, your end goal has to be personal. Your end goal is not about the building. Okay, your end goal is not to say, we're going to have a youth group with 100 people and everyone's going to worship me as the greatest youth leader that ever lived. Your end goal has to be about the people. Okay, so my end goal is you are going to actually go through significant healing and transformation in your life to the point where your marriage is never going to fail. That's a personal end goal. You know, that's where the person is the priority. We don't do that. You know, we basically have a thing where, okay, we're going to run a youth group and they're going to go through this series of talks, and then next year we're going to do another series of talks, and then they're just going to go, they'll finish year 12 and we'll never see them again. What we're actually trying to do there is keep the youth group alive. Like the image I used before about the hospital next to the river. The hospital is going to keep getting funding as long as it's full. Now, what that means is we're just going to end up keeping people in the hospital even though they don't need it anymore. Because that's a whole lot easier than pulling people out of the river. That gravitational pull, where we're always going to do what's easiest. Whereas actually we need to set a vision which is going to take us beyond and remind us, hang on, this is why we're here. Okay, we're here to heal people. We're here to help people, pull them out of the fire, pull them out of the river, whatever it is. Like, and part of this is this question, are you making sheep or are you making shepherds? If we are following that vision of Paul VI, initial proclamation, conversion, discipleship, equipped for mission, they're not converted until they become shepherds. That's basically what he's trying to say. It's until you are now equipped to go out on mission, you're not able to stand by yourself. Okay, you let a sheep go off by itself away from the rest of the flock, it's going to get eaten. You let a shepherd go off by himself away from the flock, and he's probably going to kill the wolf. Okay, there's a massive difference. And this is part of the problem, that in our parishes, in our ministries, we're often just happy keeping people as sheep. If I dare say it, it's almost a bit of a codependent relationship. I need to feel good as a minister, and so I need you to be useless and helpless and need me.
Yeah.
You know, codependency in ministry is actually a real problem. But it's a massive blind spot once again. I can be blind to the way that I'm actually doing that, where I need you to need me. I need you to have all sorts of questions about the faith and come and ask me, because that makes me feel good and makes me feel intelligent. Rather than actually equipping you to be able to go out and find the answers, to actually be able to go and stand on your own 2 feet, you know, to be able to go and be a shepherd to a whole other flock of people out there. In terms of working at your end goal, that's got to be a serious question. And I'd say in all your ministries, whatever you're doing, if you're sitting down with your leaders, you've got to say, are we making sheep or are we making shepherds? Because if we're not making shepherds, we're failing. Like, it's just a matter of time until that sheep gets eaten. You know, we've got to be thinking of a deeper, longer-term vision. Like, I always remember people talking about how youth ministry is actually marriage preparation. You ever heard people talk about that? Really important way to think about youth ministry. Youth ministry is marriage preparation. Because what you do in that time there in the youth group is going to have a significant effect on whether they're still married in 20 years' time. It's also going to have an effect on whether they get married, because they'll probably meet their spouse at the youth group. But, or maybe not. Maybe they're going to hook up with someone at the youth group, which is going to destroy their marriage later on. But it's a simple way of just keeping your ministers, like your other leaders, it's a simple way of keeping your other leaders focused on that bigger picture. It's not about us. It's not about the success of the youth group, it's about the success of their lives. You know, we have them for a very short time, but we're able to influence them for a long, long time of their life. I got involved in a youth group when I was 13 years old, and the guy who was running that youth group operated out of this personal mentality. You know, every person he cared for. And he, kind of in the same way that a parent would have a vision for the child's life, he had a vision for the life of every person in that group. Like, he wanted the best, not just for the time that they were in the youth group, but for afterwards. You know, and many, many years later, I still remember stuff this guy said to me. Simple words of encouragement. But you got this impression, you actually care about me. And now I start to care about myself as well because you care about me. Like you're invested in my future, so I'm going to start investing in my future. It can be the simplest little thing, but it has a profound effect. Okay? One of the key principles you need to understand. Use everything. Let me tell you a story. This guy, J.D. Rockefeller. You ever heard of him? Richest man that probably ever existed. At the point where he died, his fortune was something like $340 billion. He had more money than you could ever use. He made all of his money out of oil. Now, at the time when he was running this oil company, there was a bunch of other oil companies in America at the same time. Why did he become so ridiculously wealthy when the other guys were only moderately wealthy? Basically because, at the time, about 90% of the product was wasted. So you pump crude oil out of the ground, they could use about 10% of that to make petrol, and the other 90% just got thrown away. He looked at this and he said, let's not waste anything. And so he got a whole team of engineers and chemists and scientists, and he said, work out how to use the waste product and make money out of it. Think creatively, okay? Because we've only got a certain amount of time and a certain amount of oil, let's make money out of everything. And so they worked out how to separate it. So creating kerosene, diesel, bitumen, you know, all the stuff that we now use was all the waste product. And he was like, let's just start racking in the money, okay? Now, I'm not trying to train you to become corporate tycoons, but coming from this idea that there's a limited amount of time, limited amount of energy, how do you get the best out of everything you do? And once again, this comes back to your end goal. Okay, so if your end goal is, we want to evangelize this particular group, but we also want to create shepherds, like real shepherds. Okay, so amongst our, so if you use a youth group as the example, you could equally use a parish. You've got a group of young people who are currently attending your youth group. You've been ministering them, discipling them for quite a while. You've got a conference coming up, okay? Some weekend where you're going to go and evangelize a bunch of new people. You're going to go and create some beautifully designed flyers and promotion material, and you're going to go and spread it all around the high schools and all around the bus shelters and try and get people to come to your youth event. You know, because it's all about the event. Like, you've got the most amazing musicians, the amazing speaker. Now, you can put 6 months of preparation into a youth rally or a youth conference. The youth conference might go for 4 days. But pretty much the whole of that conference is hinging on 10 minutes. Okay, because the whole thing builds up and builds up to that point where the lights go dim and the music comes on gently and you've had that inspiring speaker, and this is the moment where everyone's going to give their life to Jesus. And just at that moment, someone's phone rings. And it's a really quirky phone tone, and everyone just cracks up laughing. And the whole thing's wasted. Moment's gone, atmosphere's gone. You know, you now call people to come up and pray, and they're just like, that phone. You've just wasted 6 months. Okay? Now that happens. Okay, I've had that. Doesn't take much. You know, my whole experience on youth mission team is so often that. Like you spend a whole time working with these kids, working with them for that final moment, and then someone farts. All over, okay? Game over, atmosphere's gone, no one's thinking about Jesus anymore. So the thing is, you can work so hard and still get nothing. How do you use everything? Now once again, just trying to get you to think differently here. Okay. Firstly, how do you use this to create shepherds? You know, so your current leaders, you've really got two options here. You can just treat them like hired slaves, you know. That doesn't make sense, does it? You know, unpaid workers, you know, cheap labour. Go and work for me. Go and distribute flyers. Make this youth group amazing, so I'm going to be amazing. Or you can say, hang on, this is a really valuable moment to turn you guys into shepherds. Let's use everything. Now, in terms of like a few things here, I would say number one thing here is promotion. Rethink the whole way you do promotion.
Fantastic.
Brilliant advertisement, so good. So often, our promotion is all about the event. Okay, we've got an event, here's the details, come to our event. Okay, symptomatic of the fact that it's all about the event. Make it about the person. Make it about relationship evangelization. Okay, the event is just an excuse to gather people together and love them. The event is an excuse to sit down with someone and share your faith. So when you're talking to your other leaders or parish ministers, you've basically got to say, look, the event is nothing. Okay? It's not about the event. It's not about the event. It's not about the event. This is an excuse for you to now go and do relationship evangelization. And so we're going to run a 3-week course on how to share your faith and have a spiritual conversation with your next door neighbour. Because if you were to go up to your next door neighbour and say, hey Joe, let me tell you about Jesus, it's all over. Okay? But if you see him and the guy say, hey, I got them given this flyer the other day. You're interested in coming along to this? No, I'm not interested. No trouble. Start of a conversation, you know. How's the family going? How's the kids? You know, your mum's sick. Oh, that's terrible. Can I pray for her? You know, so that flyer gives you an excuse to start to have a conversation which has nothing to do with the event. That's evangelization. Okay? And in the process, that sheep has just turned into a shepherd. Miraculous. Okay? So once again, it's all about where do you put your energy? Where do you put your money and your time? You know, so many groups will start checking their budget to say, can we afford a graphic designer? Can we afford a good sound system? Doesn't matter. You know, say, okay, can we afford to take a bunch of our leaders out for dinner and sell the vision to them of relational evangelization? Can we afford the time to do a training course so that when they actually go and start giving out flyers, that's where the real evangelization is going to happen? You know, I've done so many events where we will print off 5,000 flyers and you might get 2 people come to the event because they got given a flyer. Waste of money. Okay, what if you had 5,000 flyers which created 5,000 conversations about Jesus? That's worth the money. You know, that's where your parish is really starting to impact the local community. But you've got to rethink it. You know, and I think this is where someone as ruthless as J.D. Rockefeller can help us. To kind of think, hang on, how do we make money off every single process? You know, instead of saying, okay, it's only about creating the event and the rest is waste material, how do you use everything to reach your end goal? Okay, so the promotion's a key part of that. But then in terms of when you get closer to the event, it's like how you're going to be discipling people. You know, once again, train your leaders to be able to care, to be able to love, to be able to pray for people, to be interceding. Like you could be doing some amazing training of your parish in intercession. You know, I was talking to the guys here at the parish yesterday about this. Like, one of the key things is how do you change the culture of any place. I'll mention this a bit later on as well, but you can actually use these little things to start to change the story. You know, so you've got this goal of trying to create a whole parish of missionary disciples. That's not the culture of the Catholic Church. And you're constantly going to hit up against this other culture which says, we're just here to pay, pray and obey. You know? That we don't actually have to do anything, it's just for the priest to do. So you've got to say, okay, how do we use everything? How do we use this event to mobilise our people? And so you get all the old ladies and say, look, we want you to go for a walk every night with each other and pray the rosaries and walk around the suburb. It's like the Israelites walking around the walls of Jericho. Okay? You're our prayer warriors now. You know, this is your evangelisation. You don't feel confident enough to go and talk to people about Jesus, but pull that rosary out of your pocket and get going. You know, like, so you can start to use every small incremental thing in a creative way to change the culture, to try and change people's attitudes. And I think if you do that, you can get away with doing less but achieve more. So you might actually only run one event every year, but that one event has 12 months of preparation and lead up to it. You know, so in a sense, the event just becomes a focal point for the transformation. Okay? But you've got to understand that there's that constant gravitational pull which will pull you back to say it's just about the event. So as the leaders, you've got to be really intentional and say, hang on, there's more. There's so much more.